I'm going to walk through this battery the way I would if I were standing in my garage, looking at a stack of cables, a solar panel array, and a couple of empty RV boxes, wondering whether a single purchase could finally let me ditch the noisy gas generator. I know the hesitation that comes with dropping a few $100s on a lithium pack. You're hoping the numbers on the spec sheet translate into real, dependable power when you actually need it. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the thing that makes this 24-volt, 330 amp power setup interesting is the way it's sold, two 12-volt units that you wire together. That design choice is both a convenience and a potential source of confusion. If you already have a 24-volt system, say a solar inverter or an RV motor that runs on 24V, you can just stack the two packs and you're good to go. If you're starting from scratch, you have to be comfortable with basic series wiring, which is not rocket science, but does require a little know-how or a friend who's handy with a multimeter. Who should seriously consider this? Anyone who runs a modest off-grid cabin, a weekend warrior RV, or a small golf cart fleet that needs a stable, long-lasting source of energy. The 330Ah capacity means you can run a typical 2 kilowatts inverter for roughly 5 to 6 hours before the battery reaches its low voltage cutoff. In practice, that's enough to keep lights, a fridge, a few USB chargers, and a portable heater running through a night in a cabin with a modest solar array recharging during the day. For a golf cart, the 200A built-in BMS lets you draw the high bursts needed for acceleration without the pack overheating, and the cycle life, rated for thousands of charge-discharge cycles, translates into years of use without having to replace cells. If you're looking for a backup for a whole house, you'll probably find this pack a bit undersized. A typical home backup system needs at least 10 kilowatt-hours of storage to keep essential appliances running through a power outage, and even though you can stack more of these units, the cost and the space required start to climb quickly. In that scenario, a larger lithium iron phosphate system or a traditional deep-cycle lead-acid bank with a higher amp power rating might make more sense. Now let's talk about the strengths that actually matter when you hook the thing up. The first is weight. At 56 pounds per 12-volt module, you're looking at roughly 112 pounds for the whole 24-volt set, a fraction of what a comparable lead-acid bank would weigh. That makes installation in a tight RV compartment or a small cabin corner far less of a logistical nightmare. The second is the built-in 200A BMS. It monitors each cell, balances them, and shuts the pack down if voltage or temperature go out of safe bounds. For a DIY installer, that means you don't have to add an external battery management system. The pack protects itself, which reduces wiring complexity and the chance of a mistake that could fry a solar controller. On the downside, there are a couple of practical trade-offs that often get glossed over in marketing copy. The first is the need for a proper charging profile. While the BMS will prevent overcharge, you still have to feed the pack a charger that respects the LiFePO4 voltage curve, roughly 14.6V per 12V module when fully charged. A generic lead-acid charger will stop short, leaving the battery undercharged and reducing the usable capacity over time. If you already own a solar charge controller that's set up for lead-acid chemistry, you'll have to reprogram it or swap it out, which adds to the overall cost. The second hidden cost is the voltage drop when you draw close to the 200A limit. In a golf cart test I read about, pulling a hard acceleration caused the voltage to dip enough that the motor controller briefly throttled, which isn't catastrophic but does feel a bit sluggish compared to a higher current pack. For most everyday cruising that's fine, but if you need that instant punch for hill climbing, you might want a slightly larger amp-rated pack. Another nuance worth mentioning is the easy capacity expansion claim. The manufacturer says you can add up to 6 series units, which in theory gives you a 48-volt system with even more amp hours. The reality is that each additional module adds another set of connection points, and the BMS on each unit works independently. If one module's BMS trips, the whole string can shut down, so you end up troubleshooting at the module level rather than having a single point of failure. It's doable, but it's a step up in complexity that casual users should be aware of. Let's bring it back to value for money. At its price point, you're paying for the lightweight construction, the integrated BMS, and the long cycle life that LiFePO4 promises. Compared to a lead-acid bank of similar capacity, you're looking at a higher upfront cost, but a lower total cost of ownership because you won't have to replace the batteries every 3 to 5 years, and you won't lose